Welcome to another episode of Behind the Now. Today I get to chat with the hilarious and lovable stand-up comedian, Nicky Paris. Nicky's career began at the age of 17 in New York. His success, determination, and fearlessness eventually led him to the West Coast, where he's constantly working, bringing laughter and joy through virtual and live comedy shows, hosting, and podcasting. Nicky shares the scoop on stand-up comedy during the pandemic, his unique creative process and instinct for writing comedy, as well as top-notch advice for all creatives. Nicky, thank you so much for coming on Behind the Now podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you. Yeah, of course. So first, just how did you get into comedy from the beginning? What's your pathway so far?
Trauma. No, it was the craziest thing because my whole life, everybody was like, you should be a comedian, you should do stand-up. I was like, are they calling me ugly? I was like, what do they mean by that? It's not at all like what I wanted. And then I was on a cruise ship. I was 17 years old, and I was with a bunch of my friends from high school, and there was an open mic, and they literally forced me onto the stage.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so shy. I don't want to go up there. I had no problem singing Britney Spears karaoke in front of a bunch of strangers 2 days prior. And then I went on stage. I had no material prepared. And I just made fun of people in the crowd, and I killed.
Wow.
And that was it. And then right after that, I went to New York City, and I tried, I was in like a comedy competition, and I won. Like my first,
that's incredible.
legit time doing stand-up with material. And now I'm really broken in a lot of ways, Jenna.
Why do you say that?
Could ever understand.
Like how, yeah.
You know, how am I broken? Well, how much time do you have? Well, 8 hours, a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's been the most challenging but most rewarding thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
And, it's been a process. And, I started when I was 17. It's been I've been doing stand-up for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So, I put a lot of time and a lot of heart into it. But I'm not even, I feel like I have so much more to do. I'm like, it's been such an exciting ride, but there's so much more that I want. I feel like I have so much more growing and evolving to do. So every day I'm like, all right, what's next?
I love that.
I go to bed at night and I hear a clock ticking.
That is incredible though, at 17 to just get up there and like crowd work, you said? You kind of so you were really just like playing with what you were seeing in the spot? Wow. It's amazing.
That was all I did. I had no written material at all. And I was just, making fun of people.
Because most comics find that very hard, I think. That like comes later usually.
For me, that was like the easiest thing to do because I could, I'm very, you know me a little bit. I could talk to a wall. So, I love doing crowd work and I know it's a different time in comedy. I even love doing crowd work on Zoom.
Tell me about that. Like, how is it transitioning to comedy on Zoom? Are you getting people's feedback still? Like, are there audios on and you're like hearing late laughs? Yeah.
You know what? It's been great. I know so many people are like it's a bad art form. It's this, it's that. I don't feel that way because I feel like it's been an opportunity to try out new, to constantly work on the writing. Because sometimes, I'll probably do like at least 3 or 4 virtual shows a week.
Wow.
Since this all started. And I'm still performing in person. Thank God. I really haven't taken a break, but in terms of the virtual shows, I love it because I'm lazy. And I can just sit on my couch.
And you can just be comfortable and kind of like.
I could be comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I could have some furry slippers on. And, I do the material and I still hear the laughter. In a lot of ways, Jenna, I feel like a cam girl. I do. But I love doing crowd work on Zoom because people will come on these shows and they'll be like in their bed with their husband with their hands under the sheet. So I'm like, what's going on? Under the sheet while I'm doing my comedy. Are you giving hand jobs?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Pouring my heart out. So that's fun to see people vulnerable.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm very nosy. I like to see what's inside people's homes.
Yeah, so do you like randomly, you'll just start talking, you'll just pick certain screens? Does everyone have their screen on? Is that a given?
I'm like, look at Terry. She's here making a stroganoff pasta.
I have to watch these.
It's fun, and people aren't expecting it.
Yeah.
But it's fun because it brings everybody together.
Yes, and that's so important right now.
And it's so funny because they're like, I'm just sitting here as an audience member, but they'll be like literally like mopping the floor.
Yeah.
And I'll just like, what the Cinderella is going on?
Yeah.
While I'm here pouring my heart out to you people.
It's like when you're in a Zoom meeting with a lot of people and like if you randomly pin someone or just like or just watching or like doing something weird or like something weird happens in the background. Yeah.
I do I host Adam Hunter's Dime Bar comedy
Mhm.
show every Tuesday night on Zoom.
Yes.
And when a comedian's performing and somebody in the audience gets up and leaves the chair
Oh
or the
my.
screen, he'll just like pin their
Oh
screen
my
with the
god.
empty chair. It kills
That's
me
so
every week.
funny.
It makes me laugh so much.
That's hilarious. What's like one of the craziest Zoom experience you've had?
I You're not even gonna believe this. So every Friday night, me and Adam would do a show on Zoom,
Mhm.
just so we were staying sharp and we were staying on the material.
Mhm.
So we were doing a show. It was just an ordinary Friday night, and there was a guy who came on dressed in all camouflage that said he was a Hitler Youth and had a gun. What? I
That's so.
swear on my life. And like all I was thinking was like, oh my god, like why did I do the anal material? But
Oh
because
my
I was like,
gosh. What did you
that
but like did you like call him out on that? Like I mean like how did you deal with that?
kick him out because he was a good laugher.
Uh
But he had a
Wait, that's
huge like
terrifying.
gun. I have a screenshot of it on my computer. So after the show, me and Adam get on the phone like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because like God
Mhm.
forbid, I said, thank God for the pandemic that a movie theater is not open.
Oh my
This
gosh.
kid is just in a town with this random gun. So there was a guy who comes to the Friday night shows every Friday, and he's a cop.
Mhm.
So we were friends on Facebook, and I was like, "Hi, did you see that guy in the audience who came out
Mhm.
with the gun? Like, I'm not sure what to do."
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know where this kid was from. What was I supposed to call every local police station like I'm on
Yeah.
CSI Zoom?
Oh
You know,
my
I couldn't
gosh.
do that, so I sent him the screenshot of the picture with the gun,
Mhm. Do you
and
have his
you
name?
know,
Like
no,
was
I don't
his
even know.
name
I
wasn't
have his name on
okay.
my computer
Yes, okay,
because I
okay.
have the screenshot of his Zoom,
Okay, that could help
but
hopefully.
yeah, I was just so relieved that the cop was on. I was like, this is all
Oh,
clear,
that's
no
good.
problems.
So the cop
Yeah.
was on it eventually.
No, the cop was an audience member on the show.
Okay.
So I was so relieved that he was there to see it.
Yes, yes.
So I was
Oh,
like,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, you get the check. This is your problem.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy.
Isn't it?
Ugh, it's like, yeah. So that's crazy. What's your writing process like in comedy? How do you come up
So
with, yeah, material and how do you know when something's worth putting on stage?
I could always feel it, which is
Mm.
the craziest thing. I read a book at the beginning of, for me, when I first started, my writing process was always like, the funny stuff just comes to me. I
Mm.
organically know if it makes me. I've been like Wendy Williams says, my own best friend.
Mhm.
So whenever I was lonely or whenever I was doing this, like I would always make myself laugh,
Yes. Oh, I
and like
love
those
that.
jokes would organically pop into my head, and
Mhm.
I'd be like, "That's really funny. You should write that down." Now, at this point in my life, um, I do a lot of free form conscious writing.
Okay.
And that started when I read The Artist Way by
Yes,
Julia
I've read
Cameron.
that.
So I do my morning pages
Mhm.
every single morning, and I have a big book, so they're like really like
Mhm.
5 pages, and I stopped putting pressure on myself to stop.
It's like
Everything I had at first when I was writing was like every single thing I write has to be hilarious, and then I'd get like mad at myself. I'd be like,
that's so
like what am I
hard.
writing? And then so what I do is I just write those 3 pages every morning,
Mhm.
organic and true of what I'm really feeling. And at the
Mhm.
end of the week, I'll go through everything that I wrote with a highlighter, and anything that I think is funny in those pages that I wrote for the week goes right in my act.
Oh my god, that's so specific. That's
I know, isn't that a
beautiful.
little bit of a crazy answer?
No, it's
But
great. I just haven't heard that
changed,
before.
and it's really changed my life in a lot
Mhm.
of ways too, because I feel like I think writing's like a muscle, just like stand up and
Mhm.
just like comedy. Like the more you work at it, the better it'll be. And I hold myself accountable. The days that I didn't write, I
Mhm.
will literally like be upset with myself
Yes.
because I think it's about thinking funny, and
Mhm.
sometimes like just little things that I wrote. Like I wrote
Yes,
this whole. My
yeah.
mom got lip injections the
Mhm.
last time that I was home, and I wrote this whole bit about my mom getting lip injections that I would have never even thought of if it wasn't on my mind and I wasn't
Mhm.
just free form writing it.
Oh
So
god, that's so yeah. That's
I feel
great.
like Jane Austen sometimes. I feel or like a Judy Blume, but
Yeah.
I'm trying.
That's really good though to for people to hear to just write without any like judgment, just kind of like write, get it all out, and then look at it later when you put some time away from it, and you can see what's funny in there, you know? Yeah.
I go through it with my highlighter. I wish I had. Where's the book? I think it's on my table over there. But yeah, I go through it all different. Every week I'll do a different highlighter color because I'm gay. I have to put that little artistic touch
Yeah,
on
well,
it.
I actually
So
do that too. I've always used a lot of highlighters.
Yeah, and that way it pops. And when it's pretty, I like to see all. I'm like, oh, this is a good week. There's a lot of neon pink.
And does the structure kind of come from that too? From different, like the structure of how a bit goes, you know? Because like I think I'm saying that because I've always loved English, for instance, and writing essays, and I've always been a big writer. But the thing that didn't come naturally to me in high school was the structure of essays. But I used to take a highlighter, highlight every sentence, and kind of see like what is this really about, and that's kind of how I developed structure. I was like, oh, now I see because this leads to this and this leads to this. But at first, it'd be like all colorful all over the show. And then I'd like put all the pink together.
This show needs to be sponsored by Sharpie highlighters.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's so interesting what you said about it helping you form structure. In terms of, I kind of group it by why. Like I kind of I could feel.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
It's
like an instinct.
Like when I look at the jokes, I may move things around so that the order flows. So it makes sense. So I think what it really goes by is like when I know it's funny, I'll look at what's highlighted, and then I'll put everything that's highlighted from that week on one page.
Okay.
And I'll be like, okay, maybe this would be better here, and it flows into here. It's kind of like a really fucked up jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, no, that's how I always felt with writing too. But it feels very organic, and you have a lot of instinct that guides you with it. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, very cool.
It's really organic to how I think. And how I feel, and when I look back, and I've always been writing since the start of my career, but I never have done it to the point that I've done it now, and that started at the beginning of the pandemic for me. So,
okay.
I mean, it's
interesting,
horrible. Yeah. 500,000 people died, but it's been very beneficial for me.
That's beautiful though, because for a lot of people, it's just been like really, you know what I mean? Like you could turn it around and find more time to write. Is that what you mean by that? Like the time to write and coming up with material? Or
not?
Okay.
Well, I mean, yes, because I really haven't had more time because I have to tell you, I haven't stopped working. I never stopped performing. I've been doing a lot of socially distant shows. I've done theaters, which not many people could say that they've done. I performed in a New York City subway, like with a comedy club called Stand Up New York.
Okay.
So I performed in pickup trucks, Central Park. Central Park. I've done the virtual shows. So I never really got to rest. But I will say, when the pandemic first started, I really got to look at my career and be like, okay, I know that I'm here, but I know I could be here. This is like the worst and weirdest hand choreography I think I've ever done.
No, it's clear.
I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like Bob the Builder, giving measurements of my. But I think it really helped me like track back.
Yeah.
Like, look at what I want and then work backwards and be like, okay, what can I do to grow? And that's really what I focused on. I worked my butt off last year. I'm 28. I look like I'm 48.
So you don't. You look really young.
Thank you. It's the ring light that I have set up.
No, I've seen you in person and stuff. Okay. How is working? How are the live shows operating now? Like, what's different about it? Is everyone like very dispersed?
Well, when I performed in Florida 2 weeks ago, it was like nobody even heard of COVID, which was really interesting.
You mean in a bad way? Like they weren't wearing masks or anything?
Yeah, I don't think they've ever heard of it. I think they're still living in 2019.
Wow.
So some shows are like, I headlined the Miami Improv 2 weeks ago. That was like no mask. Everybody was right on top of each other. That was really interesting. I did a show in New Jersey at the end of last year that was in a theater specifically built for COVID.
Oh,
and
wow.
They had like tables all spread out.
That's incredible.
It was a allegedly ventilated
Mhm.
so that all the germs went out. So everything is like a little different,
Mhm.
but for the most part, the indoor shows, like if I was an audience, I'm so happy that people are going out to support live
Yeah.
comedy. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to work without it, but it makes me nervous,
Mm.
and I feel like being on stage. Like I see the people with no masks on, I'm like,
Yeah.
if I was sitting in the audience, I wouldn't take my mask off.
Yes, I'd be like that too.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see every show is different. It's
Mm.
really weird, and I guess it's like area specific too. I did a weekend at the Punchline Philly opening for Eric D'Alessandro, and they had their entire parking lot they made into
Oh
like an
wow.
outdoor. So it's
Like
been
yes,
interesting to see
yeah,
how
that's
every
awesome.
comedy club pivots.
Mhm.
They built like this whole wooden thing for us to perform.
That's amazing.
It looked like a nativity. And that
Like
was
a
the funny thing.
oh.
It was like all wooden,
Mhm.
and it looked like a shed. I was like, Jesus is gonna be born again here
Oh my
tonight.
gosh.
That's literally what it looked like.
That
It looked
sounds
like
good though, cuz it's a parking lot. Like that's huge and everything. Yeah, that's
it was really interesting. I'm very very knock on wood fortunate. I've had a lot of
mhm.
there's so many people. I did the Laugh Factory's virtual show.
Yes, how was that? How does that place
That one
look?
was so cool.
Oh
It was
yeah.
so weird seeing it so empty, but what
Mhm.
a really uh, I will say that this is the first show that I did where they had people perform on stage,
Mhm.
and they had huge, like four, like 70-inch TVs.
Oh
So there
wow.
was different audience members. It felt like I was performing at like a Best Buy or like a Sam's Club because I was just on stage. You could see
Yeah.
all the different people on the TVs. That was really cool.
Mhm.
I love that one. Um, so
That's very
it was so
cool.
nice because we met
Mhm.
right before the pandemic at the Laugh
Yes.
Factory, the night that John Stamos
Uh-huh,
was there.
I
How could we
remember.
ever
Uh-huh.
forget it? That's right. That was such a depressing night for me because I had a great set and it was a great show, but I found out that I'm double the size as John Stamos. I was like, I look like his little lesbian sister. Like when I saw this picture, I looked like I ate John Stamos.
No.
So
I think only you would think of that.
so
Yeah,
it was
I
exciting to
remember.
be back there the other night because you know I I did a couple more shows after that show, but that was like my last big show before this all happened. And like not
Okay.
even a year, and it was so exciting to be back on
Wow.
that stage again. So I was
Yes,
really
I can't believe
excited.
that's a year. That was your first time at the Laugh Factory, right?
The Laugh Factory in
In
Hollywood, that was the first
Hollywood,
time I
yes, because there's a
performed it.
few.
I got booked a couple times to do Long Beach,
Okay.
but that was my first Hollywood spot. So
Very,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, I loved it. You were amazing too.
thank you.
Yes.
You're very sweet. You're the best.
How does it work so at the beginning of the stand-up career, how do you get spots in the beginning? You know?
So, I started in New York City when I
Mhm.
first started, and I would take literally like obviously any spot that would have me. I think I was when I first started, like the first like month, I was like, I'm really going after this. I think I
Mhm.
was doing like 3 spots a month, and I was like,
Okay.
I'm so busy. How will I here I am just a diva in distress, and then now I do like 3 shows a night, and
Mhm.
it's crazy. But one thing that I did that was so beneficial in
Mhm.
my career, I had to be 18, 19 years old. I interned at Broadway Comedy Club
Oh.
in Times Square, and I would have to work 4 hours.
Mhm.
I'd work a 4-hour shift, and I'd get 5 minutes of stage time.
Wow, that's
And I would do that
amazing.
twice a week. I was working a day job in New Jersey, so I would
Mhm.
work 9 to 5, and then right at 5 o'clock, I would drive right into Times Square to be there for 7 p.m. There was nights that I remember I would be outside the Lincoln Tunnel, and I'd have to pull over and sleep in my car
Oh
in the
my
traffic because I
gosh.
was so tired. And it was a really, there was a lot of barkers in Times Square that would sell tickets to the comedy club, and
Mhm.
they would tell tourists who barely spoke English, "Oh, Tina Fey is performing here tonight. You should buy a ticket." And Tina Fey doesn't even do stand up, so people would buy tickets, and then they'd come to the comedy club and be like, "Where's Tina Fey?" And
Oh my
I was just
gosh.
this little young kid, and people would scream at me and yell at
Oh my
me,
god.
but it was such an amazing
Mhm.
experience because I got to go up regularly.
Yes.
I think I had 2 days a week that I would work, and then
Mhm.
I started getting more spots because of that. And eventually, I was getting up so much that I got to the point they were like, "You don't need to intern anymore. You can just show up and
Wow.
perform." So that was really, really cool. But I'm so grateful for that experience because that's how I really got my foot in the door
Mhm.
in the New York scene.
That's amazing. Wow, that's very cool. And then what made you go to LA from New York eventually?
So I always have such a hard time answering this question
Mm.
because I was in a really it was a really hard time in my life.
Mhm.
I think that I had a lot of distractions and I wasn't really growing and working in the way that I felt that I could.
Mhm.
So I just put myself in a situation where I'm like, you need to struggle,
Mm.
which is like kind of crazy. But I left my entire family, all my friends, my whole
Mhm.
life. I didn't know anybody out here. And I was like, you need to put yourself in a situation where you're forced to grow.
Mhm.
And it was one of the most challenging, but most rewarding things that I have ever done. Like, I look back, it's only been 3 years. I look back
Mhm.
like 3 years ago and I'm like, oh my God, like, that was a really scary time in my life. But I feel like although it was so scary, it was so rewarding at the same
Mhm.
time, you
That's
know?
beautiful.
So,
Yes. You've always had
it,
a real like self-awareness, it seems like. To know that cuz
for
I think
better or
people
worse,
no, I think it's for better. I think we're always trying to increase that, you know?
I think
It's
I'd be a lot
important.
happier if I was a lot less aware. And I was telling people, I was like, my mom was like, "Do you want me to send you a TV?" I wouldn't have a TV up until a year ago. Once
Mhm.
I started getting more into acting and my managers are putting me out for things, I didn't even want a TV in here because I didn't want any distractions. I
Mhm.
was like, nobody sent me a plate. My brother was like, "Do you want my PlayStation?" I said, "Absolutely not. No distractions.
Yeah.
Let me sit in these four walls and suffer
Mhm.
and grow." And I feel like and I'm not, I'm still nowhere near where I want to be, but I feel like I've taken steps
Yes.
closer to being
Yeah,
towards that. And that's really
definitely.
because I basically put myself in my own prison.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when I first got it, there were days I didn't even have a car out here. I would just walk around the streets and cry, which is
Yes.
really
Yeah.
crazy, but I really would. But I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so glad that I stuck it out. You know,
Yes.
um, I had people around me. I have to be very careful how I say this. I had people around me that I had to get away from
Mhm.
that didn't have my best interests
Mhm.
at heart, and I feel like me coming out here was my I don't want to say coming of age. That sounds like a movie
No,
on the
yeah.
Lifetime Channel, but it was something that I had to do for myself
Mhm.
because I'm not sure I would have ever broken free.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah,
very
no, it
aloof
makes complete
answer, but
sense. No, and that's beautiful. It's good. And it makes me like just listening to you, I'm like so proud of you. I'm
oh
like,
my
you go,
God,
Nikki.
stop it.
Yeah.
From the second I met you, I love you. You have one of those energies that yeah, you command the room.
Oh, thank
You
you.
do. You have a good energy about you.
Thanks, you too. And yeah, right away I was like, yeah, when I met you, I was like, oh
You're good.
yeah.
I'm very flattered you asked me to be here. I'm excited to get to spend
Yes,
this time with
me too.
you.
I love it. So you do a lot of hosting as well, which I didn't realize as much earlier, but I've been looking into more. And you are an amazing host, which is not a surprise because you have such like a positive, contagious energy. But what do you think makes a good host? Like what made you get into hosting?
It's the craziest thing. I'm so grateful to have the many because that's I don't want to say that's where I make all of my money, but I make a lot of money doing hosting,
Mhm.
especially in the pandemic. I host a lot of virtual shows. I think it's energy, and I think it's
Mhm.
energy and being warm. You know, and for me, I think what separates me from any other host, and because I'm a comedian and I have that background,
Mhm.
I think that it's you know asking the questions that you want to hear. That's not
Mm.
the same,
Yes, yeah.
oh, dogs or cats or something stupid like that. Like I really try to connect and ask the right questions that are entertaining to the viewer.
Mhm.
And I think that it's also keeping people engaged.
Mhm.
And because I'm able to interview but also make it funny and
Yes,
ask
yeah.
questions.
What you're
You know what I mean?
saying. Yeah.
So it like keeps the guests on their feet.
Yeah. And it feels very relaxed and spontaneous because you set that up from the get go, you know?
And fun. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I hope that when like I'm interviewing people, either it's on LATV or it's on I have a show on Airtime, which has been the best job I've ever had.
Hmm.
I host these shows through my phone.
Yes, and
And
that's
I have
so,
like,
yeah.
I feel so lucky that we're hosting a big Valentine's Day event tomorrow where we're giving away cash prizes to singles. So this will probably come out later, but if you get a time machine or Valentine's Day 2022, find the airtime app because I'm giving away money tomorrow for being single.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, it's so cool. Awesome. I'm gonna ask you a few random questions, okay? Okay, so if you were a professional athlete, what sport would you play?
I think I would say baseball only because something about a man in a baseball uniform.
I mean,
selfishly, it has nothing to do with anything about that's
yeah.
until I'd never be an athlete. But I think that for that reason, yeah. And you know what? I like the food at baseball games, which is not anything that it takes to be an athlete. Notice that I'm picking the career based on nothing that has to do with the sport.
Yes, yeah, which is fine. It's open.
But I've always liked baseball. Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of time, I think, in baseball where you're just like sitting and watching.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can sit back.
So that'd be good.
Just rest my calves.
Cool. Okay, and then what's your horoscope sign? Did I say that right? Horoscope sign.
So
yeah.
Perfect. So I'm a Capricorn. So I don't know really what I know that means. I'm a goat.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Some days I look like a goat, so I wouldn't doubt it. So Capricorns are very like. I'm not really into the whole zodiac thing, but I do know my sign a little bit, and it's very like you climb the steps and you're very
methodical,
work driven. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And
Which
then
is probably why I'm still alone and single.
No, I don't think. Cause
You're sweet, but I do.
Okay, and then so this podcast is called Behind the Now, but I think it's always important to be in the now. So I know you haven't seen the logo yet, but I have it like highlighted within it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So what's something you do to help you be in the now? If there's something, or go for it.
Separating my emotions is the biggest thing that I can do because I'm a performer. I'm a very emotional person, and when I focus on how I feel. And if I get too much in my head, that takes me away from the now. Sometimes, one of my first managers, she really beat it into my head, at least in a business sense. This is show business. It's all about money. Nobody really cares about you. For the most part, if people want to make money. And that's really helped me specifically in the now of entertainment, that I have to separate myself from how I feel and look at myself as a product. And I always said, I'm a product and I don't want to, that's her calling me now. My first manager interrupting the Zoom. Did it go out?
No, it's fine. I actually barely heard it. I think it's okay. How weird, though. That's so weird. No? The timing of that?
Yeah, I know. It's the witchcraft of it all. Gladys Simon, who, and now she just texted me too. All right, so basically, the now is separating my emotions. And being, look, what I was going to say before I was interrupted was by the phone call. I like to look at myself as a product, and I don't want to end up on clearance. So I have to look at it in a way of, if I was somebody that's a consumer who loves comedy or loves, internet personalities, how do I package myself that somebody would want to buy a ticket or follow me or be a part of what I'm doing?
Yes. Yes.
So that's how I get in the now.
That's brilliant.
Separation.
Yeah, because it sounds so simple, but it's like it's not simple at all, but it's very true though, because even if you verbally simplify it to that, it's like, well, you can do that. You can make the shift of, instead of like being immersed by your emotions, you can shift and kind of observe them, and even that changes it. So that's it's a great answer.
It's helped impact my decisions too about the way I do business things. Like certain things, I'll be like, okay, you're acting out of emotion, and that's something that
you can identify that
age before I do anything. I'm like, let me give this a couple hours. Let me not react As a kid, my mouth, I'm so quick with just because my mind, I guess because I do stand up, I'll think it out of the mouth in milliseconds.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really worked very hard in the last couple of years. No.
Mm-hmm.
Take a beat. Chill out,
Mm-hmm.
Nick. Chill out and think about what's in your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's exciting to me about the now is the next steps to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
The now is the action.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, it's the liminal. It's the in between. Yeah, that's amazing. So wait, that made me curious. So in your comedy, do you find so you write material, but then do you often find yourself going off of the material on stage, or do you tend to stick to it, or is it a mix?
It's a mix because sometimes here's what I like. What I like to do. I always have a skeleton.
Okay.
With where I could go,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that you're paying to see a ticket. I don't appreciate when I'm paying good money to see somebody that they're just bullshitting up there with their fucking dirty jeans and their t-shirt with pit stains in it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to put on a show,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope that when you see me, you feel that. I hope that I think that energy-wise, I hope that I give something. You're
Mm-hmm.
watching me, you're like, oh my god, did he really just say that?
Yeah.
Oh wow, he's crazy, but very funny. Like little things like that. So for me, I always am working on something. I always have something new that I want to go on, but sometimes I'll see somebody in the audience, and I'll just get lost on them for 20 minutes. There's been times in New York where I was doing like 20-minute sets, and I did crowd work those entire 20 minutes.
Wow, yeah.
And I'll just go around the room to different things that I see. It really depends on A, my mood,
Mm-hmm.
and B, who's in the audience, but I don't like to, I always...
You don't like to have it too, like, cemented in there, like, I have to follow this at all. It's, like, loose.
And exactly like you said, it's about being in the now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm up there and I'm thinking about, oh my God, I want to do this and I want to do that,
Yeah.
I'm not present with those people.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. That's like in acting as well. It's like every little thing, it's like everything's thrown out and you're just there. Yeah.
And to me, like, I can always tell when a comedian is just going through
yeah.
the material and it feels like they're just up there phoning it in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even if I do material that I know, like, I will talk to people, I think you always have to talk to people in the room because it places it in the now.
Yes, yeah. You're really connecting with the people that are there. It's like live theater. It's live.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're connecting. For me, it's about the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always loved to perform since I was a little kid. I used to literally, whenever I was upset about anything or I had a hard time with my parents or anything growing up, I would literally shut the door to my room and I would perform. Which, looking back, should have really put me locked away. But I would just I was like 7 years old and I'd literally put on concerts in my room.
Yeah.
And like really work on it like a real performer. Like I was obsessed with Broadway when I was a little kid. I would go through the entire show with a 15-minute intermission. And that was my 15-minute break in between. And I've always been like that. Performing to me has always just been like, in some ways, an escape, I guess. No matter what I'm going through, I've always been, I have a show tonight. And I get to shed everything.
Yes, yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And exactly like you said, I could be in the moment with those people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that because it's like an escape, but ironically, it's also closer to you, It's like, yeah. Oh, I love talking to you, Nicky. Thank you so much for coming.
I love talking to you too.
Yeah, thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed this time together.
Me too.